So if I'm an advisor right now, I'd relish rookie mode. I'd look to unlearn all the things that you already know about influence and persuasion and put yourself in the book, not with a I know mentality or a that won't work mentality, and think about where are there moments of influence in your role as an advisor that you know you could do better? Where are you consciously not as competent as you would like to be? And then run the reader of the book through saying, well, how could any of those refined talk tracks or word patterns help me show up with either more strategic curiosity or collect a better body of evidence or steer a conversation towards a collective outcome quicker or easier, helping the other person to better make their mind up quicker. So choose.
This is the Business of Advice podcast, where we help good advisors become great business owners.
Hey, we're excited to have a special edition of the Business of Advice podcast. So anytime we do these live events and bring advisors together, one of the things we love doing is having a great speaker, which we just had. Mr. Phil Jones was on stage and master on communication and language, and just the advisors loved it, just all the questions that we got. So wanted to take some time to grab you and just hit some of the highlights of what you covered there. But from background, I think people should know, 7-time best-selling author of this book, Exactly What to Say. Someone was giving it to me in 2019. So we actually had you during COVID, came on virtually and shared some with advisors. So it was good to have you in person. So appreciate you carving out a little time to talk about some of the things we talked about on stage there.
Oh, for sure. It's been a great day and great to meet so many of the fantastic advisor community here.
Excellent. Maybe just quick setup. I'd love everyone saying quick background on how you got into what you're doing today and kind of this specialty on language and what to say and the kind of magic words that really influence and move people.
Yeah, for sure. And I've been in this space a long time. So for anybody who knows my background, is I started in business when I was 14, started knocking on doors, asking neighbors whether they wanted their cars washed. And some said yes, a few said no. Most just asked me how much money I would charge. And that sent me off on this whole curious quest of realizing that if you just ask for things, then magic starts to happen. And that business became successful at the point of 15. I was making more money than my school teachers and continued to then build through a corporate retail sales career, realizing that those that would always win would ask better questions, would ask for more of what they want, and would ask with grace or skill, or would ask in a way that allowed them to get an unfair advantage versus everybody else. And as a young sales leader, it was very, very clear to me on repeat that I couldn't project my advice towards other people. What I started to learn to be able to do was to see what other great people were doing and then offer advice through the lens of, I've been watching what Cody's been up to and he's doing blank, blank, and blank. And if you want results like that, then you might want to do so too. And it took me on this thirst or hunger towards really studying language, really starting to study how people show up for moments. Because you know as well as I do that hard work, hustle, product knowledge, knowing your industry are all attributes to get you in the game. But to get on the podium past that point, sometimes what you need is some refined skill. And in every industry I touched, every superstar was passionate and proficient with language, greater than anybody else.
Yeah. So this book, Exactly What to Say, that honestly, probably everyone should read it, I guess I would say. But we try and speak to advisors primarily. What are some of the ways that they could use this book to improve their communication? Because I do think, maybe as much, if not more than any other profession, financial advisors have to be really great at how they communicate with clients.
Yep. I mean, there are many ways. And I think it was Mark Twain that first said it, that if I had more time, I would have written a shorter letter. It is distilling down all of the principles around influence and persuasion into a tiny little book you can read cover to cover in just over an hour. It is a tough thing to be able to do. What it does, though, to a reader sometimes, they think that the success comes from reading the book. You get zero success from reading a book. Is choosing to then be able to say, how do I apply this towards my world, is where you start to get results. So if I'm an advisor right now, I'd relish rookie mode. I'd look to unlearn all the things that you already know about influence and persuasion and put yourself in the book, not with a I know mentality or a that won't work mentality, and think about where are there moments of influence in your role as an advisor that you know you could do better? Where are you consciously not as competent as you would like to be? And then run the reader of the book through saying, well, how could any of those refined talk tracks or word patterns help me show up with either more strategic curiosity or collect a better body of evidence or steer a conversation towards a collective outcome quicker or easier, helping the other person to better make their mind up quicker. So choose the moments and then reread the book would be what I'd be saying to every advisor.
That's good. One of the things you talked about and spent a decent amount of time on stage is I think every advisor is trying to grow their business, right? A lot of that comes from meeting new people. And you kind of walked through these 5 stages, that I wouldn't say lead to referrals, but I think there's an outcome there too. So would you kind of walk through those 5 stages? Yeah. And maybe even more so, I think what was powerful there is you role played it. We don't have to role play completely, but it is, what people do wrong kind of in each of those stages and how they can do that a little better.
Well, even for listeners at home right now, is how many conversations are you a part of that you just shortchange? And it could be the how are you question, it could be the how was your day question, it could be what's new, what's up. Any of these questions we throw out on repeat get a generic, cold, bland response in the other direction, and then we shut the thing down.
Yep.
We've become so efficient with language, we fail to be effective. And we've learned to think that what you can do is to move somebody from A to Z with one masterful email or one purposeful sales page or one perfect pitch or one killer meeting with a client. Yet relationships are built over time, and trust is won over time. So the 5-step dance that we mapped out was that questions create conversations, conversations lead to relationships, relationships create opportunities, and opportunities lead to sales or action or change. And I meet advisors, I meet professionals in all walks of life that say to me things like, if I just had more opportunities, I could get more sales. If I just had more opportunities, I could create more change. If I just had more opportunities, I could get better results. And the question I ask of those folks is who are the people you need to be asking more questions of? And the answer is they say things like, well, my existing clients or my past clients or my prospects or my sphere or my community. They give me these generic buckets. Yep. I'm like, no, but who? I need names and numbers like who? Because you're not going to get people to show up to a party unless you build a guest list, right? We need to build a guest list first. Who are the people you need to be asking more questions of? What are the conversations that you need to be having that you're not? There's the second question. Because again, every advisor knows that even within their existing client base, they should be showing up and talking about X, Y, and Z. They should have mentioned A, B, and C. They should be able to head off at the path that something isn't gone as well as they perhaps hope. They should be able to be proactive around that. If they bring that into gaze, chances are they can lead their clients better. So you've got who do you need to be asking more questions of? What are the conversations you need to be having that you're not? Also, where do you have relationships that hold untapped opportunities? Because everybody says it's not what you know, but who you know. That's only partially true. It's what you do with who you know. Knowing somebody is okay, but if you do nothing with that somebody, then nothing happens. And every advisor has got relationships with other trusted referral partners, relationships with long-term clients that could open doors. They've got a plethora of relationships everywhere that if they just re-entered a conversation, asked more meaningful questions of them, could make magic happen. And the fourth question that comes off the end of that 5-step dance is, where have you created opportunities that require you to pattern interrupt to drive that next action? And there are so many advisors right now that are wishing, waiting, hoping, and praying for the next step to present itself, that what they should really be doing is picking up a phone, sending a text message, inviting somebody for a dinner, drinks, coffee, whatever, to then get that good idea towards a meaningful next step. Instead, they're waiting for it. And if they could just take more of the opportunities they've created and progress them, they could take more of their relationships and enhance them, they could take more of the opportunities that they've created and have more meaningful conversations around them and decide who the people they want to focus on their next questions of, business would be accelerated at a really quite profound rate. Just too many people are looking for this magic pill answer that I'm still looking for.
Well, and this isn't a magic pill, but I think one of the questions you got asked was about how do you start a conversation? So maybe even take that, like they're like, hey, here's some people that we should follow up with that didn't become clients that we want to re-engage. And you had this, I think it was OFQ. I don't have my notes in front of me from that one. Those are in my notebook. But that was really, really good.
We teach a process in a lot of environments is how do you get permission to have a conversation? Lots of people think that they're good at, say, not being able to get on first dates. They're actually pretty good at first dates. They're just not good at being able to make the ask. Advisors are in the same environment. Is if they could get to the conversation they'd like to have, they'd be great in the conversation. Just getting permission to be able to get that 10 minutes of focused attention, 30 minutes focused attention. That's the puzzle. So how do you get from idea, prospect, possibility to permission in the shortest period of time? You need a word sequence to get you there. And the framework that we teach is a framework called OFQ, which you just touched on, which is opening, fact, question. You're looking for a polite opening, followed by mutually agreeable fact, then an easy to answer question. So I'm not prepared for this, but let's see if we can do it here in real life. Where might there be a scenario that an advisor is looking to reach out to somebody to restart a conversation, to be able to put something on the agenda that currently isn't on the agenda of the other person?
Would this say maybe they met with someone a year ago that would have been an ideal client? For some reason, they didn't become one, right?
Okay.
And so they know, like, hey, everything going on in the market right now, some uncertainty. This would be a great time to try and reach back out and re-engage that client. Just not sure how to prospect.
And maybe they met them in the office a year ago, or they met them on a social event a year ago, and that they almost potentially maybe kind of did some business.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, your polite opening would be, hi, it's Phil calling from insert name of business. Doesn't need to be any more than that. People should probably use their own name, not mine. What would the mutually agreeable fact be? Well, the mutually agreeable fact or facts would be, 12 months ago, we met at Jim and Sally's, barbecue event, and we spent some time talking about your plans from a financial future point of view, and how you might be open to do X, Y, and Z. And their little voice says, yeah, we did. That did happen. So now you've got to permission. You now need an easy to answer question. Now, the question that most advisors would reach to here is something like, so would you like to get a coffee or catch up, or for us to be able to revisit this? That's a hard to answer question.
Yep.
Easy to answer question here would be a version of, are you still living at XYZ? You're still living in that neighborhood, or are you still trying to get your golf handicap below, your golf score below 100, or something else that shows you know them, that creates a laugh line and a quick response on reflex? Or you could even be more direct, is, did you manage to get all of this sorted with your bank? No. Okay. So now we've created opportunity to be able to bounce forward from there. And when you bounce forward, a simple arc that is useful in conversation is to run past, present, future. What would that look like here is, in simplistic forms that everybody on this episode right now is certainly aware to be able to elaborate upon, is, so what's happened since? So let's say this was somebody met a year ago.
Yep.
So what's happened for you since we last met at, boom. Once you've got the answer to that, and that's all been expanded upon, is, so where are you at now? Let that expand. And then have a, so now what conversation? So what's happened since? Where are you at? So now what? And now we've got context and color around their real life, and they're starting to realize that you might be able to help them with their real life because you know their real life.
Yeah, no, that was good. I think you could see the advisor's eyes light up on that, just as a way to re-engage people that maybe they missed on too. So one of the other questions I want to ask, obviously, I think one of the most important things as an advisor is building trust quickly.
Yep.
And not in a misleading, superficial way, but like actually being able to build that. What are some good ways for advisors to maybe use language to build trust quickly with prospective clients or clients?
You build trust by telling the truth and doing what you said you were going to do. And trust is earned over a period of time. Trust is earned quicker when you understand somebody's context and that you know what the world looks like to them. Like, nobody cares how smart you are. Nobody cares how much you know about financial products. Nobody cares how good you are at being able to piece together a comprehensive, 8 bubbles of everything being all covered. Nobody cares until they believe that you understand what their world looks like. So you win trust by showing massive interest in the other people, remaining curious for long enough till you understand their context. Once you've been curious enough to understand their context, demonstrating empathy and hitting the show me that you know me button, i.e. being relatable, is nobody wants any of the products any of your advisors are selling. What they want is the result of that. And whether that is peace of mind, security, safety, legacy, any of these reasons that could all be combined, they want that, but not in theory, in practice to them. They need their custom version of security, legacy, comfort, whatever that may mean. So you've got to get to a point of understanding what that means. It's the why behind the what. They might want comprehensive life insurance. Yeah, but why? Yeah, but why? Yeah, but why? Yeah, but why? And it's possibly because, well, their father passed away at 58, leaving them as a family in a really tragic set of circumstances, and they were underinsured, and what that meant for mum was boom, 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 boom. Get it. This matters, and you're fearful of being able to follow in incorrect footsteps. So curious to understand context, empathetic to prove that you're relatable, get to a point that you're now side by side, and now I trust you, because we're trying to slay the same monster, right? It's not I'm trying to sell you a financial product. It's I know enough about you that I now need to help you with my expertise around your unique set of circumstances to make sure the thing we're scared of doesn't happen. The thing you'd like to happen is more likely to happen. Oh, and guess what? It's worth it for a reason that matters, that is bigger than self. So you can then be really quite courageous. As an advisor, you could even be like, so hold on, why are you looking to put $30,000 more into crypto, even though you know that's not going to help your long-term financial future? That you believe that was not so true. Or why are you buying another car when you're underinsured here, or that you're underpositioned from a cash point of view? You can be bold and brash when somebody's told you enough of their context, when you're on the same page, and what they've said is they want blank, and they've said why they want it. You can throw some really strong punches with kindness.
That's good. Yeah. One question I want to ask you, we were talking a little even backstage after, you talked a lot about listening, but more so in the context of, this is how I wanted to ask the question of, you think, and you see it right now with everything going on, I'll say in our country, but let's say across the world, if people would listen a little bit more, that we could probably fix a lot of problems. So just any thoughts you have around how we become better listeners, you know,
right.
and some of the opportunities that there are there. And I think you could apply it to, you know, if I'm an advisor or if I'm a business owner, you know, how can listening help me do what I want? But I think just in general right now, I don't think we listen very well to each other, right? We scream at each other more, and we're quick to respond. And so
you cannot speak, you cannot write, perform, and edit at the same time. And many of us, when we go into conversations, try to do all three of those things. We're trying to write what it is we're going to say, whilst performing what it is we're going to say, whilst editing what we just said in the exact moment. And what then happens is, when you find a conflict situation that requires listening, the other person can't listen because they're already trying to work through all those other motor functions.
Yeah.
So they've already made it too hard to listen. What you're better to be able to do is to not teach listening skills, but by alternative to teach questioning skills that create a slowed down space in the middle that encourages listening. In conflict scenarios, what often happens is we've got a right and wrong environment. So we've got black and white. Now, you can't tell black they're white, and you can't tell white they're black. That's a destiny to failure that results in zero listening. What you have to be able to do by alternative is to create a gray space in the middle of those things. And a gray space is a safe space because it's a play space, and that's where change can happen. If you are looking to influence anybody in any conversation, you must first decide that you can be influenced. That means that you've got to show up saying that I'm lacking data, not that I know. So for listening to happen, curiosity has to be fueled into the question in the first place. For me to show up saying, I don't understand enough. I'm going to give you a real crystal clear example on this. I live in New York City and grew up on the outskirts of London. So in my background is we have a police force that don't carry guns. We have next to zero guns in our environment whatsoever. And in New York City, the thought of everybody I bump into in the street carrying a pistol scares me somewhere near to death. My best friend on the planet, my best man at my wedding, lives in Bowling Green, Kentucky, has grown up on a 30-acre farm, and through his own words, is as redneck as they could come. And we have some very different beliefs around gun control. Now, I could have a long conversation with him without listening, thinking that the boy's an idiot. And he could have a similar set of beliefs about the same here to me. Yet what we managed to be able to do is to find a space where I can say, like, hey, buddy, tell me some more about why it's so important for you to be able to believe what you believe about guns and have what you have, and like, what am I missing here?
Yeah.
And he can put some space into that, and he can then respond by saying, well, what are some of the things that you're fearful about, and what do you understand about the controls and the parameters and the licensing and what really exists? And we can start to not meet in the middle, but get context that allows our field of vision to be able to change. We've had that conversation, which is why I share it with you. And the conclusion of our long conversation, which happens over like a year, is he thinks guns are a great idea because he likes to keep his family safe. And I think guns are a less good idea because I'd like to keep my family safe. Now what we can do is to say, well, how can the world become a safer place?
Yep.
Because we've listened to each other's point of view. But in order to listen, you have to be brave enough to be able to lead from a position of not knowing, to show up to a conversation saying, I don't know enough, teach me, to be influenced by something from a different point of view. So to create a moment for listening means that a leader has to create a question with the vulnerability of saying, I don't yet know the answer, and being prepared to go into a conversation not knowing the full outcome. That's not listening. That's saying that we're all malleable.
It's interesting because Casey, one of our advisors who spoke
Yep.
before you, I think one of the things that people took away from him is how they do listen. They try and understand what people have gone through. I said something similar to this at AE. We had an event, and I said, if we all just would sit down and listen and understand everyone's life story, a lot of our opinions, like you just shared, it's a
Right.
great example, right? So many of our opinions are influenced by the life story or life circumstances we grew up with, and we vilify each other without actually understanding why they believe what they believe, and so much of it tends to be like what you've experienced in life.
That's
so
right.
would make a big difference, I think. So not to get completely off topic.
And what that means to do that is the ability to skillfully answer questions.
Yeah.
So that would be, how do you create question stacks? How do you create what we call question trees? So as the body of work in exactly what to say matures, we've been asked a lot to teach people how do you build a series of chess moves to get to an outcome as opposed to a checkers play to win the game. And that would look something like what do you understand about question? So what do you understand about why many people decide that carrying a firearm is a good idea, right? We can go there, but let's make it financial services. Is what do you understand about all your different options when it comes to planning for retirement? Oh, giant curiosity gap. Well, I don't understand enough about all.
Yep.
Well, what is your experience of working with a financial advisor? Well, I had some financial advice from the guy at the bank. Yeah. Well, what is your experience of working with a professional financial advisor? See how what we're starting to do is to build a body of evidence for them to be able to say, well, not much experience around professional financial advisor. Well, when was the last time that anybody completed a comprehensive review of your cash position, your income position, your long-term financial planning future, and made sure that your assets were protected? When was the last time that happened? Well, I can't think of the last time. Well, how often have you thought about making sure that you're properly prepared? I mean, we think about it for often, most weeks it comes up in some way, us knowing that we're not in a right position. And for how long have you been thinking that? Well, I've been thinking that for the last 5, 8, 9, 10 years. Okay. So could it be possible that now's the right time that we do something about it? Well, yeah, it could be. Well, see, it's all place-based. It's allowing people to be able to move, and getting there in multiple moves. You can do that with remarkable predictability. We think everybody as a human being is unique. I mean, look at how we behave to the algorithms that manipulate us on social media, etc. We're not all that unique. Yeah. We are more similar than unique. We have uniquenesses. And spoken word can help people reach the right outcomes. And I think this is the most important skill for a financial advisor today, is to not just know the products inside out and be part of a great organization, but to decide that this is a skill that requires mastering if they would like to be able to stand out from their competition.
Agreed. Yeah, I think that's why they ate it up in there too. So I'm looking forward to doing some more. Okay, I'm going to ask you one final topic a little, then I want to move into these lightning round questions because I know you got to get home back to New York City too, so we're not in New York right now. One of the things you talked about was the idea of simple swaps.
Yep.
It's like if you're saying it this way, here's a better way to say it. Would you talk about why that matters and then maybe give an example or two that's very applicable to advisors?
I mean, every word that shows up in your marketing, in your communications, and on your regular patterns of conversation, it's either helping or it's hurting. Nothing is neutral. And I think in a framework that in my head I call story math, like do the words add up? And some words are multiplying, some words are dividing, some are adding, and some are subtracting. I give you the simplest of examples in the world of a simple swap is I own a couple of marketing agency businesses in the hearing healthcare space. And one of the swaps that we changed that made a big impact on conversion rates was what it said on the button of a web page. So following a form on a web page, it would say the word submit. Think about that word for a second for more than 2 seconds, and you realize very quickly that is not a helpful word to get somebody to take an action, right? I'm submitting my information. Submission, like we the WWE again, it has a negative connotation against it. We changed hundreds of websites with contact forms away from the word submit to the word next and put 2 arrows behind it. Conversion rate on form fields went through the roof. Tiny little change. In the same industry, the common call to action was book an appointment. Now, what we then did is did some research and data around all the different visitors to websites in the hearing healthcare space. These are people that sell hearing aids. And we learned that the average age of a visitor to a website was between 35 and 45 years of age, with over 65% of them being female. What assumption do we make? Well, it isn't actually the patient that is visiting the site. It's a caregiver, it's a daughter, it's somebody else that cares about them. Yet all of the language was written towards them speaking direct to the person that they're looking to be able to treat. Yeah. It was a miss. We swapped book an appointment to request a callback. Guess what happens? Now people can request a callback from an experienced professional to help you understand, not your needs, the needs and challenges, obstacles of you or a loved one. Conversion rate went through the roof. And I think in a financial services situation, we label things all the time like my clients, my practice. Whereas if you can shift some of that language towards young families or successful entrepreneurs and start to actually put precise labels that people would see themselves in rather than my clients, you're in better shape. And then another that I think is instantly applicable from a simple swap point of view is the overuse of the word we, particularly in written word or in early meetings with clients. What we offer, what we provide, we were founded in. Overuse of the word we, in my country, we say means you we all over your prospects. Like, they're probably not going to like it. So if you swap the we's for you's, instead of what we offer is choosing ABC Wealth means that what you benefit from is. Same list of services, but it activates it. It makes it present and active tense as opposed to future conditional tense, and people see themselves in that scenario. Same with ifs to whens. Instead of like, if you choose to work with us, to when you choose to work with us, it activates it, brings it further forward, and has people seeing themselves in a scenario. So in today's interview, my ask would just be, look at what you say on repeat. Is it hurting or is it helping? Could it be refined? And look for simple swaps. Could even be the word problem. When someone says, well, the problem I see with you going down that path, when I label something a problem, it creates resistance, creates friction. When I swap the word problem for the word challenge, now we're in different shape again. Well, the challenge with you potentially making that choice is that you may find blank, blank, and blank. By alternative, what you may give consideration to that could potentially be a more viable path to get you to here could be this. But even seeing the language when you're showing options is inserting curiosity of like could, may, possibly, perhaps. It allows the other person to stay fluid and to make movement as to where they might go without absolutes.
It's good. The thing I loved about the simple swaps and what I see our advisors have built these great businesses, and if they see a lot of people, if you can move those conversion rates 5-10%, it just has this massive impact. And there's
huge.
So many little nuggets you gave them that can move those in a big way. So
well, and scale goes like this, right? Is that what starts to happen is we go from like, I've got it all figured out with my 1, 2, 3, 4 person shop, and then we go bigger and we're 30, 40, 50, 60 people. You then think I've got to fill the funnel with leads. I just need to get more people in front of them.
Yep.
And now's the right time for people to go, well, now let's look at the optimization, what happens with all those interactions. Because if I just keep putting more in, then what's going to happen is it's going to be hard to maintain or certainly maximize profitability.
Yeah, no, that's good. Okay, I want to ask you a couple quick lightning round questions that we ask at the end of all these, and then we'll get you out of here. So I kind of take this back to COVID. What I said is I think that year there made people at least kind of reevaluate or rethink. And is there one big lesson that you took away from kind of that stretch that you'll carry forward for the rest of your career life?
I think the short answer to that is the only thing I've become certain of is uncertainty. It is that I'm certain that change is going to be perpetually upon us, and our ability to be resilient, to move within the changing circumstances and never know what's going on. Like, I think COVID's taught me that.
Yeah.
And I'll add to that is that nobody knows what they're doing. That's what COVID taught me. Is senior execs, VPs of large organizations, that when change happens as quick as that, you realize just how few people really know what they're doing, which gave me some confidence that says, well, actually, it's our ability to figure stuff out rather than to know for sure that is a greater superpower than thinking that you have all the answers. That's or good. Experience is the only thing that we need.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, second question. What's the one thing that you can look back on and say, this is what took me from being good at what I do to great at what I do?
It's three things. There's not one thing. One is putting myself in rooms of people that were significantly better than I am, significantly further on in the race, and being okay to be the rookie in that environment, always being on the relentless quest for better, and knowing that's possible. The second is debrief and review with trusted mentors. is following doing something, is sitting down and saying, what did I like best? What would I do differently next time? And getting constructive, meaningful, growth-focused feedback. Not, you did great and here's where you sucked.
Yep.
But actually, people that are in the mess and in the weeds with you, helping you shape out the refinement of the next 10%. Because 0 to 90, you can figure out on your own. 90 to 100, you need people that can help you see around your blind corners. And the other thing is reps. Like, you just have to have done it enough times. You can't. And so you realize sometimes when something tricky comes up in the way you're doing things, even thinking about a professional speaker point of view, is fire alarm goes off, cardiac arrest happens in the audience, you get cut from 90 minutes to 22 minutes and you still need to deliver upon the promise, and your inside voice says, I got this. That's the moment that happens, but that didn't happen ahead of time. It almost happened. We're like, oh,
multiple fire alarms.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, you eventually get used to it. That's good. Okay, third question. What are you doing this year to drive your personal growth and development that you're excited about?
What am I doing is I'm refocusing in on areas that I know that if I don't focus in, I won't sustain the type of life I'm looking for. So big focus in on health, big focus in on sleep, big focus in on diet, big focus in on saying that I can't be any of the things that have been a big part of my identity if my health starts to be able to move. And I turned 42 this year, and I think like a lot of us that step over a certain age, you start to realize you're not as invincible as you once thought you were. So, health is my big focus this year, and also buying back my time. Anything that I can be doing that means that I can outsource something that doesn't bring me joy, doesn't give me strength, or isn't me playing to best. How do I get that to someone else so I can buy back the time, so I can focus on my health?
Good ones. Okay. Fourth question. It can be your own book, although everyone should read it. But what's the one book that you've recommended most to other entrepreneurs, leaders?
The obvious one is Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. The most recommended book that's maybe a touch more non-obvious is a book by a guy called Michael Bungay-Stanier. It's a book called The Coaching Habit, and how everybody can be more coach-like in all of their conversations. I think regardless of where somebody is it's brilliant. I like it because it shares a similar vein to mine, is that it's 7 questions and prefaces to allow you to be more coach-like. And Michael's a great guy, but his distillation of how people can be more coach-like in that book means it's a book that I probably gift more than any other book. I buy copies and just say, you need to read this.
That's good. Good. 2 great books there. Okay, final question. Best piece of advice you've ever received?
If you're going to compare yourself to others, be sure to compare the whole of you with the whole of them.
That's good.
Which is really hard to do.
Yeah.
And helps you realize you possibly don't want what they got.
Yeah, it's funny. I said that even at our event, it's like you're only seeing the highlights. You don't see all. Sometimes you don't see all the work that's gone on, but you don't see all the challenges either, right? You just get to see the good thing at a lot of these events when you come together. So that's a good one. Phil, appreciate you. I know you've spent a lot of time with us today. So best way for people to follow you, the great work that you're doing.
Yes, stop by the website, either philmjones.com or exactlywhattosay.com. Lots of free resources, lots of things that people can plug into there. Or if they want to continue the conversation, at philmjonesuk on Instagram is the best place to find me in person. And know that if you reach out, mention Advisors Excel in a DM, then I'd love to be able to say hi and find out what it was that you took from discussion we had here today.
Excellent. Appreciate everything, buddy. Appreciate you jumping on here.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.